Hi, everyone.
Hello, and welcome to our last session of 2025. We are live here from Berlin. We'd love to know who you are and where you're joining from. Feel free to drop a quick hello in the chat. We would really appreciate that. Until then, before we officially start, I'd like to introduce ourselves. I'm Dana, and this is John. We are co-founders of Design Sprint Academy, and our mission is to help teams think, decide, and build with clarity in the AI era. Now, we founded Design Sprint Academy a while ago, 8 years ago, after spending more than 15 years running our own digital agency and watching teams struggle with maybe too many ideas and not enough alignment, maybe too many meetings, but not enough progress, and definitely slow decisions and unclear priorities. Today, we've redefined ourselves as the AI Facilitation Company, and we'll talk more about what that looks like in practice a little bit later. Now, over the past 8 years, we've been fortunate enough to work with incredible teams across the globe in very different cultures and industries, from oil coolants to fashion to construction and everything in between. So we also got the chance to collaborate with Google, shared our problem framing framework with their teams and their partners, and we helped build different communities of practice in cities around the world. And now, in the AI era, we're seeing basically the same old issues: misalignment, unclear decisions, siloed collaboration, but it's all happening at a much higher speed and scale. So that's why we have planned the specific agenda for today that I would like to share with you. We will talk about our perspective on AI maturity. We'll introduce you to a new role that organizations will need in a very near future. We'll walk you through our updated model, the AI Facilitation Framework, and fair warning at the end, we'll tell you about an incredible training opportunity if you're interested in leading teams through those very changing times. Q&A at the end, and yes, for the questions that you might have, this session is recorded and you'll receive the recording shortly after the event. And now, that was my part, and I think I'm going to pass the mic to John.
We're sharing just one mic, so okay. I guess everyone can hear me okay. So I'm just going to dive right in. First, I want to thank you for taking the time to be in this webinar. I know there's probably many AI events and there's already some AI fatigue around. So appreciate your time, especially those of you also in the US. I know you have a short week this week. But yeah, I guess it's important to share the work that we've done, all of us in this space, and learn from each other. The first part on the agenda is how we see AI adoption in companies today. So I'm going to use an analogy I learned last week while attending an AI event where there was a comparison between AI adoption and the phases that we go through in our lives from babies. And I think we need this introduction. So as you know, like as babies, we learn by exploring, and children just press button, touch things, trying to discover what happens if they do that, all without fear, right, without control. And in a similar way, I feel organizations are starting their AI adoption, where people are starting to play with different tools, GPT, Copilot, Claude, all of these LLMs. Maybe they get a little bit more advanced where they go into no-code or automation tools like NN8 or Zapier or Make or any of these things. But they do this in an exploratory way. They do it for fun, sometimes with zero commitment. They're not trying to achieve necessarily something. They're just exploring. But then as we progress in our lives, like as children, we get to school where learning becomes a lot more structured, right? And we learn math, we learn literature, we learn logic, we learn discipline. And in the same way, companies start training their staff, right? You have AI skill courses, you're starting to learn about data. Maybe you have structured events like hackathons happening, individual experiments, start building your AI agents or the very first workflows. Everything gets a little bit more structured in the process. And then what's going to happen next? We become teenagers, and teenagers starts to explore their independence. I mean, they want to be independent. They test boundaries. They do a lot of experiments. They act with so much confidence. But if you all remember when you were teenagers, I don't think we had much ideas about what we're doing, but we're very sure that this is the thing. And in a similar way, in organizations, people start doing even more experiments, starting pilots, lots of AI activity, sometimes without any direction or strategy, but a lot is happening. Siloed team might start redesigning their own workflows, maybe even without talking with IT, with risk, with compliance, right? So they're starting to do all of these things. And then finally, we get adults when we're supposed to make informed decisions. We're supposed to solve problems. We're supposed to behave responsibly, right? To know how things work. And I see it similarly when companies reach an AI maturity, for lack of a better word, that's when they're going to have AI products, they're going to have new AI business models, maybe they're going to redesign and automate their entire workflows, they're going to make confident decisions about AI, where to deploy it, how to use it. They're maybe going to have agents or systems of agents working together. I don't know, because I don't think many companies have reached that stage. In fact, I think we're maybe in the teenage era of AI, where some companies got to this stage where they're experimenting a lot. As I was saying, most of the times without having a very clear strategic direction, but many others are still at the first steps, right? Exploring or starting to learn about AI. If anyone is in the last stage where they're in a very mature AI environment where you have figured things out, please write in the chat. So just like teenagers, I feel that all of the teams that are tasked with AI adoption or they're trying to adopt to implement AI in their work, they need a little bit of help and guidance to make the right decisions at the right time. And this is where we see an emergent role, which we call the AI facilitator. And probably right now you're asking, what is the definition of the AI facilitator? And we made a little bit of an experiment. We asked AI, what is an AI facilitator? And we ask every system that we work with. And as you can see, the definitions are wildly different. The AI systems can't agree on the definition. Some of them see the role as a human, others see it as Perplexity, for example, sees it as an artificially intelligence-powered agent. Gemini as a mix of human or an agent. Right? So as you can see, all of these definitions are all over the place. And the reason why this is because this is the job of the future. There's no references about it, and AI looks for definitions from the past or simply makes them up because why not? AI is always going to give an answer to a question if you ask it. So I'll give you a definition, how we're thinking about it. It's a working definition. Probably it's going to suffer some changes, but we see the AI facilitator as someone who helps people make confident decisions about AI. What should we do with AI? What solutions should we build with AI? Using fast, structured decision-making and evaluation frameworks, and most importantly, bringing the right people together at the right time. To put it more in short, I would say an AI facilitator could be sort of a clarity builder. I really like this term. And why do teams need an AI facilitator, you might ask? And we want to give you a few reasons. I mean, we had more of this, but I'm only going to show you 5 to respect your time. But the first one that I see is the vague AI mandates. There's a lot of pressure in organizations to do something with AI. The leadership knows it. They want to do something. They don't want to miss on this huge opportunity, and they push it down onto their teams. I could have here more arguments, but I decided to show you a quote from one of the sales calls I had with a program manager in a company that was around 5,000 people, $1 billion. And this is what he was saying. Our CEO and our CTO are saying that next year, AI is going to be a core component and the core tenet and value that we will want to drive across our organization. And I think collectively, we understand there's a lot of potential for AI to change, but no one really can tell us what exactly this means and how we even implement it within our group. And so that's where we're struggling. So I read the quote as it was without editing anything. And when you're getting mandates like this, and this is not the only one, right? When you get mandates like this creates a lot of urgency and pressure, but without giving direction. So what happens is that teams get stuck. And then what an AI facilitator does, they align leadership first, because teams move only as confident as their leaders show up. So the facilitator would align the leaders, helping them translate AI ambition, which is vague, into more concrete goals, and defining what success really means, what are the outcomes they're looking from AI, not outputs. That's something that the teams can do, and then prioritize where AI will create value and where it won't. The other thing is teams can't make confident decisions about AI, not because they're not smart people, they're very, very smart people. But the reality with AI is that we simply don't know. It's so new that most of them, they don't know what works, what doesn't. Some of them can't even imagine what's possible. So nobody fully understands all of the implications, the risk, or the choices. I was talking last week with the head of innovation. There was an innovation lab, 60 people. They're doing everything you can imagine with AI for the past 2 years. And they're very large organizations, so they have all of the resources they can have. And he was still saying, we have not figured this out. We're still figuring it out. So, because there are no playbooks, there's no past examples of this, you don't have the best practices. And then when people don't feel confident, they just don't move, or they move in the wrong direction. So that's why we think that when teams are flying blind, they need guided decision making. And that's what an AI facilitator does, reduces ambiguity and creates the conditions for confident decision making by helping the teams make their assumptions explicit, break complex issues that they have to deal at work into smaller choices, smaller decisions, creating decision gates that everyone understands, and then replacing guessing or guesswork with fast, low risk, evidence based experiments. The next one, also very important, no single discipline can build AI alone, because AI touches everything: tech, business, users, data, risk. And all of these groups rarely speak the same language. And very often they see the problem in very different ways. So, for example, engineering talks feasibility, design is all about experience, business obviously talks money, data is about reality and facts, quality, and legal talks about risk and compliance. And in order to really build effective AI, you need to have a shared understanding and input from all of these parties. Otherwise, nothing works. So an AI facilitator aligns those perspectives into one shared direction and helps breaking the silos that naturally, I'm not sure why that happens, but they exist in organizations. And what they do is they help bring the right experts together when it's needed, surface their opinions, their assumptions across disciplines, and making sure that no one voice dominates the conversations. Because AI is not just IT's problem, or it's not just a product problem. Creating a shared understanding among all of these parties. And at the end of the day, the objective is to have everyone moving in the same direction. I have a couple of more. Nothing new here, but we tend to have solution first thinking, where we jump into solutions right away. And even now with AI, I feel this is accelerated because many teams are just building things, pilots, AI stuff, just because that they can, because the tools allow to do it, not necessarily because it matters or because they should do it. And many of these AI pilots, they look promising on paper, but never deliver real change. I could put here lots of stats from McKinsey and other consulting reports about the real impact of the organizational level, but I think everyone is familiar that very few of these proof of concepts actually make an impact. And that's a lot of time because people don't really focus on solving real problems with it. And without having a clear user need or a clear problem, none of this activity, of this effort makes any sense. So that's why teams really need to validate problems and user needs first. And then what an AI facilitator does, they shift the thinking from solution first to problem first, helping team identify user needs, mapping workflows, pinpointing flaws or bottlenecks, and using all of this work to help them create very clear problem statements that connect also to real business value. And in the end, help them prioritize, okay, which of these use cases make sense and we should be working on. And then finally, the last one is, I think, quite important. Teams don't learn fast enough because lots of teams run pilots and do them, but they don't actually learn that much from them. I mean, yes, they get a lot of confidence with the AI tools, but I'm not talking about that kind of learning. I'm talking about the fact that they don't kill ideas fast enough. And then also you have different teams within organizations that they work on the same ideas without knowing it. So there's a lot of duplication of efforts. And because of the silos, lessons stay trapped inside project instead of spreading across. And with AI, because we don't have the playbook, we don't know what works or not. What's more important is the learning speed. And the learning speed, you can measure it by how many pilots you can kill, not by how many you're building. And then what an AI facilitator does here is helping teams create this learning system where they can learn a lot faster, where they can kill their ideas early and fast and avoid repetition of work. They help teams with test ideas with these small controlled experiments. I'm going to show you a little bit later how set clear criteria for when to continue or when to kill a project. Make sure that they share learnings across teams. They keep the big picture in sight to reduce the duplication of efforts. But most importantly, they get teams and organizations into this rhythm of experimentation, of conducting these fast evidence-based experiments so they can make informed decisions. This is the list, right? Vague leadership mandates, high ambiguity, team working in silos, solution-first thinking, teams that don't learn fast enough, that don't validate fast enough. All of these are problems that an AI facilitator can help with. And if you're looking at all of this, probably you're going to notice that none of this is actually new. But I would say with AI, all of these, let's say, flaws of how we work together, how we collaborate, how we make decisions are amplified just because AI is moving so fast. So we can't consider them anymore as, oh, this is business as usual and we take it as it is. We need to do something about, and that's why I feel the AI facilitator is going to be so important. And now, after this preamble, I want to show you how. Probably there is not just one way of doing it, but we're going to show you our way of doing it and the AI facilitation framework that we're using in our work. And I'm going to show you this in the context of a case study of a project that we've worked on 2 years ago. This is our framework. I'll go into details as the webinar continues, but as of now, we have 3 very important pillars: AI strategy, AI problem framing, and AI design sprints that involves different people at different times. And actually, this is one of the things that makes this framework work, because it's all about involving the right people at the right time. So leadership level, like your executives, boardroom, C-levels, we're involving them in what we call AI strategy workshops. And the ask for them is to define high-level AI opportunities areas, basically define what their AI ambition is, making sure this is linked to their strategic goals. At this stage, we're still keeping quite high level. We're not going into the nitty-gritty details of AI use cases or anything like this, but we're just trying to get direction and buy-in to explore AI within a certain business area. The next level would be problem framing. And at this stage, we're going a level down and we're involving middle management, but also cross-functional experts. And having already gotten the buy-in, they explore within that business area specific use cases. And then finally, the last part is turning those use cases into solutions. Is that experimentation and learning that I was talking about? And this is where we involve practitioners. We're getting experts in the room who can turn those use cases into real AI solutions, agents, and validate those concepts with real customers before building. So this is our framework, and now I want to show you how we applied it in practice with one of our clients, Turner Construction Company. They're one of the largest, if not the largest builder in the US. And when they approached us, we've been working with them for a few years, but when they approached us 2 years ago, they said, look, we want to create our 3 AI products. And that was the ask. And then we applied this exact framework. We started with AI strategy, which is a structured workshop with leadership where we identified a high-level AI opportunities and make sure everyone is aligned on their AI ambition. This was a one-day workshop with the most senior leadership in the company. So think board level, executive, senior vice presidents coming from all of their business units in the States. And like the big question we wanted to answer in this workshop was, where should we focus our AI ambition? But you have to imagine everyone in the room had a different understanding of AI, a different knowledge about AI. So first we wanted to level the ground. And the first part was all about improving their AI literacy or fluency. So a little bit of education on AI, what AI can do for a business, what are the capabilities, what are the risks, what are the limits, and presenting some use cases or case studies from other organizations so they understand what's possible. And then once they had this understanding, then they were discussing their biggest business challenges and identified where AI could make the most impact. And then finally, we ended up with brainstorming high-value AI concept scenarios. Again, I'm going to show you the format. It's not super detailed, but it's just giving the direction. One more note that I want to make here. The first part of this workshop was all about AI education. And I want to talk about this in the context of the AI facilitator. Myself, I was the AI facilitator in this project. I'm not that much of an expert with AI, so I can train a team in AI, right? So we brought in the right partner. And I think this is one of the jobs of the AI facilitator, making sure they bring in the right experts, the right partners, the right vendors for that particular project. Anyway, once we did this, at the end of this workshop, we finished with this sort of ideas. We're using this template, we call it big idea thinking, where the stakeholders just need to say, who has the problem? What is the problem about? Why should we care? Should we solve it? And then an ideal state. And we really push them to think out of the box, greenfield thinking, totally based on their imaginations, their desires. And then at the end, as you can see, we had some scores: feasibility, scalability, and impact, and who wants to sponsor. Everyone did this work. They brainstormed a lot of ideas. We can't share what they were, but they discussed all of them. They voted on them based on those dimensions we had there: feasibility, scalability, and impact. A lot of those were gut feeling votes, but these are seasoned executives. They have a good gut feeling. And then at the end, they decided which one of these they wanted to sponsor. So we ended up the workshop with a high-level roadmap for the first AI initiatives. So once we have that clear and we had focus on a business area, then we moved into the problem framing. And problem framing for us, it's a fast structured workshop where we align on a problem worth solving, turning that broad opportunity space into more concrete use cases that the whole team can commit to and actually work on solving. How does it work? Typically, it's one day. Sometimes you can do it in a little bit less, but it's generally one day. Again, very important is assembling the right mix of people, cross-functional, from AI, data, UX, business, legal, whatever function is involved in that specific AI initiative. And we want to bring in one or two senior decision makers as well to get the buy-in. And during this workshop, we follow a structured sequence of design thinking activities to explore, define, assess, and prioritize at the end the AI opportunities. And we finish with a few high-value AI use cases, but these times they're very concrete. I'm going to take you through the template. And these use cases connect user needs with the business goals and get everyone aligned. So in this case, in this project, we had a problem framing workshop with the middle management directors and VPs. That was the level that we were working at. And what happens in this workshop, we started, first of all, from an opportunity that was defined during the strategy workshop by the leadership. And first, we started with making all of their AI ideas and solutions visible, because a lot of times in this workshop, people already have some ideas about what they want to do with AI. We don't want to dismiss them, but they actually might be quite good. But what we do, we filter them by business value, making sure they connect to the business goals. So all of this part is very much internally focused, is based on ideas, solutions people already have, which is good. But then we change perspective and we move into the customer side of things. In their case, the customer was still internal because we're building products for internal teams. But here's we're looking who has the problems, who's affected, why it matters, and we visualize these sort of experiences using customer insights, journey maps, data, whatever we have. Now, I don't want you to think that all of this framework is just about running workshops. In between these workshops, there's a lot of work. And for example, in this case, was doing all of this mapping, gathering the data that you want to put in front of your stakeholders during the workshop so they can actually make informed decisions. You can see it here in the pictures on the wall. So that takes time. The workshops are just the accelerator where you make decisions happening, and instead of spreading them, I don't know, over weeks and dozens of meetings, you do it in a workshop. But there is work that gets done in between. And then also based on this exploratory phase where we're looking at the customer needs, we're coming up with more opportunities. And in the end, we're filtering all of them by feasibility, risk. We have some other criteria as well. We call them magic lenses. And in the end, we come up with AI use cards. We turn those opportunities into AI use cards that look something like this. For our customer, we call it the MVS, the minimum viable segment, who experience top of mind or latent problem that is painful or aspirational. Actually, we need to replace those with the actual things. We believe there's an opportunity to use AI capability or direction. This is something we uncover with what ifs in workshops to help them achieve whatever desired outcome. And this opportunity is aligned with our business goals and then that's the specific business goal. So basically we bring everything together in this very specific form. Everyone agrees with, yes, that's something that we're going to work on. And then the next phase would be actually coming up with a solution. And this is where we're using the trusted design sprint, which is a structured 4-day workshop to envision the AI solution, to build a prototype, and also validate it with users before you actually commit to building. So the AI use card from problem framing is the starting point of this workshop. And now I want to take you through how does this work here. We're doing it in 4 days. Of course, you don't need everyone for the entire 4 days, but you do need a cross-functional team of experts, people who are actually able to have the expertise and capability to contribute to a solution for that particular problem. So they could be definitely from AI, you need AI and data people, but also UX, research, business, legal. Again, one senior decision maker is something that's good to have just to make sure that everything that's being decided in the workshop actually gets implemented. And then you're going to follow this structured design thinking process to take you from initial idea all the way to tested prototype. And that's something that I want to take you through it. Some of you might be familiar with the original design sprint by Google Ventures. We changed the process for AI because new elements are needed for AI solutions, and also a lot of the work that was usually done in the first day of the design sprint, mapping, user empathy, and things like this, we already took care of those during problem framing. So in this case study with Turner that I was talking about, we ran 3 parallel design sprints because we had 3 AI use cases that they wanted to do. So this is how it looked like. Everyone was in the same room with their own AI facilitator and their own AI coach. So this is the structure of the workshop. I'll take you day by day. I'll just try to give you a high-level overview and a little bit of detail. But basically, the first day of the design sprint is understanding even more the problem that we're solving and then defining what's important. So the team maps enablers and blockers for AI, identify key moments of intervention where AI can actually create value within the product or the service or the process. And then they agree on what success looks like for the solution. And the first part of the workshop is what we call the AI friction heat map, where the experts in the room, we give them a structured way to talk about the challenge that they are tackling and their AI solution. And we broke it down into 4 categories. data, the tech stack, integration or implementation, and then legal, compliance, and risk factors. And for all of these, we're looking at enablers and blockers. And it's important to know that these factors exist whether the AI solution is good or not. And in order to prompt the conversation and to get the answers, these are the questions that we ask for each of these categories. So for example, for data, enablers, what data do we already have that is high quality, up to date, and easy to access? What data do we lack, or what issues, quality, access, freshness could prevent the AI from working reliably? And then similarly for all of the other categories. See, this is why it's so important that in this sort of workshops, you have the right people that are able to answer these questions. This is not a workshop you run with random 7 people in your organization saying, hey, we're going to come up with this AI product. No, it's all based on expertise, on competence. So having the right people in the room is vital for this. So basically, prompted by these questions, all of your experts will be able to answer these questions. Of course, everyone may be answering questions where they feel more comfortable. Your data scientist is going to cover the first row, right? Your engineers may be the next 2. If you have someone from legal or business, they're going to cover the last one. So in the end, they're going to identify their most powerful enablers and what are their major red flags. And then what we do, we're trying to see where AI could make a difference in our product or service. And we call this moments of AI intervention. Here we zoom in on the customer experiences. By the way, we've already done or we're already looked at the customer experience in AI problem framing. So the design sprint is just about zooming in certain aspects. I'm going to give you an example. This is from a bank, right? The use card was for parents of kids age 8 to 12 who experience kids spending all of their allowance immediately and never saving it, which is top of mind and painful. Also, parents unintentionally modeling poor money habits. We believe there's an opportunity to use AI-powered nudges, personalized tips, and predictive financial guidance to help them teach the value of the money, right? And this is aligned with this goal of our bank. So in problem framing, we looked at the overall journey of how parents set up allowance, give money, how children are receiving it, what happens in the bank front stage, which is the app, and then the bank backstage and the support processes. We've done all of that work. In a design sprint, we're zooming in these specific areas because that's what the AI use case is about, where we get into detail of what the experience is, and then the team comes up with gaps and pain points, which could be the moments of AI intervention. So there's not a savings for prompt. We don't understand the value or consequences of spending of our money. No nudges or reflection on previous spending, right? So these are all examples here. And then this would be very, very important. Previously in a regular design sprint, these were the so-called sprint questions, but we made them more like a checklist or guardrail for the AI products because we felt we needed more dimensions here. And the first one is differentiators. And differentiators are all about the team articulating how their AI solution is going to be different than their competitors. So we don't have a lot of similar Me Too products. And for example, this banking one would be, we're going to provide education in context to parents and children. It's going to be personalized per age group. There's not going to be an extra card cost, right? So those are going to be our differentiators. And then again, this is very important, guardrails. What are the red lines we won't cross with AI? And it goes very much into the AI ethics, but some of the examples could be never shame or pressure the child, never override parents' decisions. We're never going to give nudges to increase spending in our app. Then we're looking at, okay, what can we consider as a success sign? This could be a couple of examples, App Store reviews, or parents report more meaningful money conversations with their children. And then finally, what are some of the risks of our solutions? What could go wrong? What does failure look like? So for example, AI gives inaccurate suggestions, breaking trust, and parents will not trust it anymore. So these are very important because these 4 dimensions will guide the ideation in the next stage because we want to address the risks that we perceive. We want to stick to our guardrails. We want to make sure that our solutions also clearly shows what our differentiators are. So it's very important to go through these categories because they're going to inform your decisions. So at the end of the first day, it's all about understanding the landscape, getting everyone on the same page, understanding your blockers, your enablers, where AI can make a difference in your customer journey, or it could be also an internal thing, and then a checklist of what success looks like, which is going to inform your ideation process. The second day of the design sprint, we haven't changed much here. This is basically a creative, structured, I think I'm using structured a lot, but there's a lot of structure to this process, problem-solving process. And the day starts by finding inspiration, where the team looks at other solutions, maybe from other companies, from other industries, something that can open their eyes, or maybe something they can leverage as well for their own problems. And then afterwards, everyone individually, and this is very important, everyone individually comes up with their own solution. And this is where having this diverse perspective and expertise is so important in this process. And then we go through an evaluation process, silent at first, where everyone tries to understand on their own each solution, but then the team discusses, evaluating, to understand the pros and cons of every single concept. Again, this is why it's so important having the right people in the room, because if you have AI engineers, data scientists, they're going to speak of feasibility. So making sure that the team is not envisioning something that the company cannot build in the next 10 years, right? So very, very important having this sort of mix. But then again, your subject matter experts, you can't only do this ideation process with AI engineers or data scientists, because they don't know the business just as well. So that's why you need to have the domain experts as well. And then there is a voting, a decision. This is where the decision maker is very important. And in the end, whatever concepts were chosen, they're being put together into a single concept. We call it a storyboard, which is a best of all of these ideas. And it's a very clear blueprint of what the team wants to prototype. And then this is where we've done a major change to the design sprints for those of you who know design sprints, because day 3, we're going to do both prototyping and testing instead of having this as 2 separate days. And why is that? Is because now with AI, we can prototype much faster and at much better quality. So the morning of the first part of the day is all about building the prototype and the interview script. And in the afternoon is running 3 to 5 user interviews and then synthesizing the results. And basically in this day, we take the storyboard that we created and we turn it into a functional prototype. Now, the prototype needs to do here 2 things, which again, it's a bit different than a classical design sprint. You need to be able to visualize the experience. And here you can have prototyping tools like Miro that do a great job, especially with the new updates that they have released. But also in an AI design sprint, you want to demonstrate the functionality of your solution. So yes, of course, you're not going to be able to build the entire AI agent or automate an entire workflow, but an MVP, a part of it, showing, yes, this is working. We can connect to these data sets. We can get this sort of outputs. It's something that would be very good to do in an AI design sprint. If you can blend both of them by using just one tool, that's amazing. I mean, you can have a team that's really good with Cursor, for example, and they build the whole thing in one thing. But you need to have these 2 dimensions, ideally, visualizing the end-to-end experience and demonstrating the functionality. And at the end of the day, you conduct interviews with your customers, with your users, seeing how they react to your AI solution. You can see what works, what doesn't, and why. And this is the big difference from the original design sprint, because in the 4th day, you take that feedback, you iterate your prototypes, and you run one more round of testing. At the end of this, the outcome is a user-tested AI engine MVP, because should I call it prototype? It is a prototype, but it's an evolved prototype. It's almost like an MVP because it shows some functionality as well. So it checks the desirability, feasibility as well, and then it's something that you can turn into a business. With Turner, we did this with 3 teams. After we finished, what happened is all of these teams we presented right at the end of the design sprint, a huge conference call with the leadership. These were the same leaders that were present in the strategy meetings a few weeks back and also in the problem framing workshops. And actually, the leadership was able to see the outcome of their decisions, because they decided on the opportunities. Now the team presented the solutions. A good part of this was that OpenAI was part of this design sprint as well, because they wanted to see how teams come up with use cases and come up with solutions. And this was 2 years ago. And if you want, why is it worth working like this? This is a screenshot that we made today. Turner Construction Company is in a partnership with OpenAI, but as you can see, they have already built 400 custom AI applications. They're running internal hackathons where their teams, their staff build agents. They're actually having great savings of time, right, by using AI. But this takes time, right? And it takes some consistency and discipline, and they're doing a great job at this. So, what AI facilitators do in the end, to sum up, is giving organization a clear path from AI ambition to actually building and scaling solutions. And as you can see in its product life cycle, AI facilitators are heavily involved at the beginning, right? Bringing clarity. What's the ambition? What are the problems we're solving? Helping validate the solutions, learn and iterate fast. And so then the teams or the organization can build with confidence. So why is this working? This way of working requires disciplined experimentation. It's just what I was talking about. So instead of having lots of pilots, experiments, lots of activity, but without a direction, you're going to have guided discovery. You're going to have a lot of learning that align with your whatever AI ambition or business strategy there is. The other thing is these methods are plug and play. What I'm talking about, they don't require workflow, organizational transformation. None of the clients that hire us, they don't need to change the way they work in order to adopt these things. Because basically what we do with this, we get people working together. You could say that we almost put together on-demand cross-functional pods, right, for that specific project, because they need to collaborate. They would have done it anyway, but maybe they would have done it the classic way where they would have meetings over weeks and just have this very cumbersome and slow process. Now we can do it in 1 day or in 2 days, right? It accelerates decision-making and collaboration a lot. These are workshops that work. Dana was saying we've been doing this for 9, 8, 9, we're in our 9th year right now. So they work because these are structured methods. Everyone can learn them. Because they're so structured and they have a recipe format, it's easy to scale and make sure that teams work in a consistent way. At the end of each of these workshops, you get the clear outcomes now, and it just brings people together. And this is what I was saying. I would say this is one of the most important things. You get tangible outcomes. After each of these 3 workshops that I presented, after the strategy workshops, you get that high-level opportunity, you get sponsorship alignment. After problem framing, you get to your use case. That's, again, very concrete, very specific. It's grounded in real data and insights. At the end of a design sprint, you don't get the PRD or a deck. You get a prototype, but it's not any prototype. It's a prototype that's already validated by customers. So with these methods, you'd just replace maybe weeks or months of meetings because you just get everyone working together when it matters. And now this is the sales pitch that Dana was talking about. If you want to become an AI facilitator and want to run these workshops yourselves, we might have something for you. We're doing what we call a VIP Christmas edition in Berlin. It's roughly 2 weeks from now, where we're going to teach the AI problem framing and the AI design sprint during 3 days, super hands-on, going through all of these workshops. Usually we work with large teams. We go into corporations and train them, but this time we're doing a small format group. It's only 8 people in total. We still have 4 seats left. We only did it once last month when we had to train our own internal consultants for India. And we just invited a few more people to say, hey, do you want to join this? Because we want to train our consultants and we'd like them to experience this hands-on and in a workshop format. And it turned out to be one of the best learning experiences we've ever done. And mostly it was a lot, not only because they learned the tools or the workshop was good because there's a few people, but they learned from each other because every single person in that room was a seasoned facilitator themselves. So that's what made it good. Besides the workshop, we're also giving away all of the materials that we use to run this. So that's our facilitation decks, agenda, playbooks. Each of these playbooks is 60 pages each, explaining the process in details. Our GPTs, we created custom GPTs trained on our data to help with structuring these workshops and customizing them if needed. And also included would be our classic problem framing course. So we have this as a self-paced online version. The AI problem framing derives from this, but in this online course, we're covering a lot more the groundwork, the preparation, the behind the scenes. How do you run the research? How do you visualize a process, a customer journey map, this sort of things, and a lot of facilitation tips as well in this one. And I think I have one more slide. Oh no, two more slides. We're also making an experience outside of the classroom. It's Christmas, so after the training, it's Christmas markets. We're going to have dinners there, so even more networking between us and more conversations. So as I was saying, we have 4 more spots left, 3 days of training, all of the tools, an online course, and a beautiful Christmas experience in Berlin. So that was the session. Now, if you have any questions, we still have a few minutes. You have questions?
Let's start.
Oh my God. Let's see.
Let's see. Where in the organization do you see the role of the AI facilitator?
Definitely innovation. So I would say innovation. Even the example that I gave with Turner, everything was orchestrated by the innovation department. So that's a very natural fit, innovation. But then the other one I would say would be HR, and maybe Dana, you can add something here with HR.
Yeah, I really believe that. Oh, let me somehow add me to the stage. Yeah, okay. I'm here. So we are using the same mic. It's crazy. So I really believe that HR will have a huge role when we talk about AI transformation, as they need to also understand how to project the future, how to imagine the future, how to create those future roles. And I think they also need a training or a more experienced way of seeing the future in this way, because they are very focused on operations and not so much on strategy. And I believe there's a huge opportunity there. Okay, so Nicole, hopefully we answered your question. I have another one from Stephen.
Isn't the core premise of AI creating value fundamentally flawed? AI is a technology, just like cloud. It remains a technology. Exactly, right? That's why it doesn't, this whole AI thing is not fixing it by itself. You still need to define what value is, and that's not AI doing it. It's still us, the people. So that's why I see this role so important, because we're going to help teams, organizations define the value they wanted to create with AI, either internally or for their customers. So I totally agree. Yeah.
Another one from Stephen.
Interested to know how you approach this AI framing workshop when a business is vendor dependent. By that, I mean, most corporates are either a Microsoft house, a Google house, a Salesforce house, which limits their technology solutions. So that's exactly what we're doing in problem framing. We're working with the constraints that they have, right? So if they have some ideas and we can't implement them, it's something that's going to surface during the workshop, and then they have a decision. Do we want to take another vendor on board? Do we want to go outside these major vendors, which is not always easy, but we work with the constraints. That's why we want to do this workshop, so we can surface all of these blockers, all of these problems very early on.
A question from Christina.
How long end-to-end for the projects, including time outside of the workshops? It really depends on this. We had cases where a project was done in 2 weeks. Especially, it depends on the starting point of the organizations, because not everyone hires us for this entire life cycle that I showed. Some people have lots of clarity, and so this is the idea we want to validate, and then we can move into a design sprint, which essentially could be a 2-week project, because we have 1 week of prep and then 1 week of delivery. But then in Turner's case, it took a few months, I would say, but it was just because we had to involve every single level in the company, and getting so many senior leaders in a room twice and making those decisions, it's not, as you know, it's not easy. But generally for us, these are very fast projects. So most of them on average take less than a month. Can you respond?
You have to read it.
Yeah, no, I was trying to check if you wanted to answer this. Early on, you mentioned an AI use card. In traditional design sprint, you have ideation where you use divergent thinking and convergent thinking. Does AI use cards edit ideas? Do you understand the question?
Really.
I don't understand the question that much.
So the AI use card is the result of a decision. It's basically the result of a team focusing on a specific scenario where they want to use AI to solve that specific problem. It might happen that during the design sprint, when they come up with a solution, that specific scenario might need editing, as we dive deep into that use case and we look at more obstacles, more enablers, more risks, and so on. But in general, it's just like a small tweak or maybe a different perspective shift. Hopefully I got your question. All right, and one more. Oh, this is interesting, again from Stephen. Thank you, Stephen, for all your questions. Have you had instances where customers have invalidated a use case and feedback on a use case has been negative?
It happens all it happens all the time, and that's why I like what we've done in this with the AI design sprint, where we can do 2 rounds of iteration, because sometimes it's not necessarily that they invalidate the use case, they invalidate the solution, so you can do something about it, or you can also change the problem definition based on your initial use card, or problem definition based on testing the solution. So yeah, I mean, this is something that we prepare our teams for, and it goes back to what I was saying. It's really good to have a process to kill ideas. That's not a bad thing. We're learning very fast. So yes, the answer is yes, but no one is really bothered by this, because we do it with this intention. If we kill it now, it's much better than suffering later.
I'm caught up in reading your comments, guys.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the feedback. It's so nice. I think
we're good.
We are good for this evening. I hope you found it valuable and you've learned new things. And we're really hoping to see some of you in Berlin. It's going to be an amazing, fun time. It's not just going to be work. Yes. We are very strict with work, but do not worry. We will also have fun. And we're actually excited to learn from, because it's an exchange of experience we do between us. And that's why we love the power of small groups, because we enrich our experiences also, and we get to expand our thinking and so on. So that being said,
goodbye. And to those of you in the US,
for joining us.
Happy Thanksgiving to those of you in the US, and see you next time, and hopefully in Berlin. Bye.
Yeah. See you. Bye.